Good evening, everyone. Welcome to English for Everyone. Welcome to Teacher Lauren's channel. I hope you have been learning. I am learning too, and I'm enjoying the class. Those of us who have been joining the class, who have been on the class for some time, you would have known what the class is all about. But those of us who are joining tonight or this evening, let me explain. English for everyone. It means that if you're in high school, if you're a high school student, if you're not a native speaker, if you are a student even at the primary level, secondary level, you're not in a school, you're not enrolled in a school, but you want to do well in your English exam, whether it be CSEC, the education, or GCE, whatever exam you're doing. What I'm doing on this platform will lay the foundation for you. You'll become a better writer, a better English speaker. And remember, I said you don't have to get it right all the time because language is funny and sometimes it's difficult to master some concept. So don't be hard on yourself. We are learning together. As I said, English is fun. English for everyone is fun. Now I'm going to go again. English language, I've divided it into 5 sections. 5 section meaning grammar, grammar which has to do with the rules, govern how we write each sentence. Every sentence that we write should have at least one, should have, even if it's one word, like stop, it should have parts of speech, whether it's the verb, noun, preposition, whatever. Grammar governs rules, how we write, the verbs, the pronouns, the preposition, and all of that, govern the rules. Then you have also, we say grammar could take in capitalization. There are certain words in English language, the first letter of certain words must be big, uppercase, and when we're writing in English. And also punctuation marks. So grammar would include parts of speech, 8 parts of speech, then the direct and the indirect articles. Remember that? Direct article, the book, the bag, indirect, and an and a. Indirect. So specific, the. And grammar would also take in capitalization and punctuation. Let's go it again. I want to go all the time so that you remember. Grammar has to do with the 8 parts of speech, plus the articles, the definite article the and the indefinite article and a. It also includes capitalization and punctuation marks. Some of the punctuation marks are on the outside and some are on the inside. Some of the outside ones, the outside ones really, they are the full stop, or some people call it the period, the exclamation sign, and the question. Those are the 4 end marks. And then you have the inside ones, the apostrophe, the semicolon, the colon, the dash, the hyphen, and all of those. So we'll learn as we go along. So it is divided into grammar, vocabulary. Vocabulary will take in the synonym, the antonyms, the prefixes, the suffixes, and all of those. Then we have the spelling rule will take in phonics and the different rules, the I before the E and I before the E and E before the I, and all those double letters spelling. Then we have comprehension, reading comprehension, and 5, we have creative writing. And as I said, the main aim of learning grammar, of learning spelling, of learning vocabulary, and even reading comprehension, the main aim is so that you can become a better writer. You can, using these grammatical rules, these spelling rules, and this vocabulary, these will help you to become a better writer, so you'll be able to express yourself. Now, when we speak, we can gesture, move our hands, and we can move our eyes, And we can enunciate, we can pronounce the words better, we can have expressions on our faces, but when we write, we do not have that luxury. So we have to write in a very convincing manner so we can appeal to our readers that they would want to read what we have written. And so the main aim of learning language, English language and any other language, is so that you can express yourself in that language. And so tonight we have been looking at grammar, we have been looking at the two parts of speech, the nouns and the verbs. We looked a little at the indirect and direct articles. Tonight, now we are going to be looking at creative writing. How can we express ourselves? How can we express ourselves? Some easy way how we can express ourselves. But the first thing we have to do, we have to know about sentences. Words make up sentences. Sentences make up paragraphs. Paragraphs make up essays or stories. So along that line. So we look at words. We're going to be looking at some of the time. We'll be looking at words, and then we'll be looking at. All right, and then we'll be looking at paragraph and all of those things we'll be doing. And when we are through, when we have done maybe at 3 months, you have done at 3 months, you'll be surprised to see how your writing would have improved and your speaking as well. Expression. You'll be learning a whole lot. Teacher Lawrence is interested in you. It's all about you. It's given me joy to teach writing. All right, so we're going to start with sentences. What is a sentence? A sentence is a group of words that express a complete thought. So if I say, put the book on the table, it's clear. But if I say, on the table, show what I'm saying. That's just a fragment. Put the book on the table, I'm saying the complete thought. I am going to the supermarket. That's a complete thought. To the supermarket. Doesn't make any sense. So a sentence is a complete thought. Now, the next question I would like to ask. Can a sentence be one word? Can a sentence be 2 words? Can a sentence be more than 10 words? Yes. You can have short sentences. They can be 1 word. They can be 2 words. Or they can be long sentences, even 10 words. So we're going to look tonight at some sentences, parts of a sentence, and how we can vary our sentences. So we said, a sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. It must be understood by the person I'm speaking to. If I say stop, is that a complete thought? Yes. It is understood that I'm saying you stop. So even though the word you is not there, it is understood that you stop. Run. Is that a sentence? Yes, it is. It is conveying a complete thought, although it's 1 word, because it means you run. It is understood you run. A sentence must begin with a capital letter. The first word must begin with a capital letter. So if it's I can run. This I must be a capital letter, big letter, an uppercase. You have uppercase and lower cases. Upper cases, lower cases. It must end with a period or a full stop or a question mark. Where are you going? What is in the bag? Who is in my room? Anything those question mark. Where is the toy? So questions like the 5W. Who, where, when, why, Who, where, when, why, what, and how. The 5 and 1 each. These are questions. They can ask questions. What is your name? So you can ask questions. So these, every sentence that you have would have to end with the three of them. Either a full stop, a question mark, or exclamation. Exclamation mark is when you express surprise, emotion. Run. Get off the floor. Get down quickly. Put your hands up in the air. Anything with expression, it has to do with exclamation. So the sentences, every sentence would have to end with one of those. Either the full stop, the exclamation mark, or the question mark. Now, so we say, what is a sentence? We're going to look at sentences now to see if sentences can be just one word. And I did say it can be one word because it is understood. All right. A sentence can be one word. A sentence all right, can be one word, can be 2 words, can be, all right, the sun is shining. The sun is shining. Birds fly. Stop. Are you coming? All of these are sentences. So a sentence can be one word because I said you stop, you run, you talk. If you have talk and you have run, it is understood. Now, get this clear. Every sentence must have a verb. Every sentence should include a verb. Every sentence should include a verb. If it doesn't, if I write something, for example, if I say something like this, in the park, is that a sentence? No, because you don't understand what I'm saying. If I say to you, Karen, in the park, Karen might be looking at me. What is she saying? What is Teacher Lauren saying? In the park? So it must convey. But if I say to you, run, jump, go, it is imperative. It is an exclamation rather. It's an exclamation. I'm saying to you that you must do something. It's an exclamation to say, do the thing now, you. So although the word you is not there, it is implied. All right. Now, I'm going to, so every sentence we say should have a verb. The verb, remember we spoke about verbs in the last class, linking verb, action verb, and helping verb. It should have every sentence. All right. Now, so sentences, based on what I am saying, sentences can be short, one word, 2 words, or more. So bear that in mind. It must express a complete thought. It must be understood what I'm saying. So if I say something to you, the lamp, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if I say the lamp is shining brightly, then you understand what I'm saying. you would have understood what I am saying. So you must be able to understand for it to be a complete sentence, and you must find it must include a verb. We're going to look at that there are two main parts of a verb. There are two main parts of a sentence, rather. Right? All right? So we're going to look at the main part of a sentence. We're going to look at two main parts of a sentence. And we say two main parts of a sentence. Birds fly. So it must have a subject, and it must have a subject, and it must have a verb. It must have two main parts. A sentence must have two main parts. So it has what is called the subject. That's bird. The subject tells who or what the sentence is about. It tells who or what the sentence is about. As a sentence normally is about a subject. So the subject tells who or what the sentence is about. Who or what the sentence is about. The subject in most cases is a pronoun or a noun. A pronoun, a subject is a pronoun or a noun. So the subject here, birds fly. The word birds here, it's a noun. So it's a noun, but it is the subject of a sentence. Fly now is the verb. Now we're going to hear about this word predicate. Right? So we have the subject and we have the predicate. All right, so the predicate tells what the subject does. So it answers the question, what the subject does. All right, or it can be what where is the person. It can be a is or where. So the subject of the sentence is who or what the sentence is about. Is it about a boy, a girl, the country? A sentence can be about anything. A sentence can be about a room. It can be about a farm. You can make sentences about the country. You can make sentences about the languages. Sentences can be abstract. They can be, you can be using synonyms. You can use prefixes to make sentences. Sentences are all everywhere. Anywhere you are, you can make a sentence. It can be about nature. It can be about the planet. So sentences it's not confined to any particular place. You can make sentences about anywhere in the world. So sentences are all around. We can make sentences. We can have thousands of sentences, and we can have a variety of sentences. And I'm going to tell you more about that. The predicate tells what the subject does. Now look at this. Now, you have birds and you have fly. Birds, that's the subject. That's who is the subject. What the sentence is about. The sentence is about birds. And it tells you what the birds are doing or what the birds like to do. All right? The birds like to fly. Birds fly. They are made with wings. They fly. Now, the word predicate. Now, if you see one verb, you still call it the predicate. But the predicate contains the verb. Let me see if I can go again. The predicate contains the verb. But if you see one verb, then it is referred to as a predicate. But predicate, so the verb itself can be, the verb itself, we can refer to it as predicate. But within the predicate, you have the verb as well. So two things. So in this case, we call fly here the verb, and it is the predicate. But the verb can also, when you have a longer predicate, the verb can also be in that. So let's go that. A sentence has two main parts. A sentence has two main parts. The subject and the predicate, which contains the verb. So a sentence has two parts, the subject and the predicate. The subject answers the question who or what. And the predicate would say what the person, the animal, what the person is doing. The action part is a predicate. The action part is a predicate. The verb, the action part, so if it's not the predicate, it's in the predicate. If it's not the predicate, it is in the predicate, the verb. So we look at the two main parts of a sentence. Now we're going to look at a simple subject and a simple predicate and a complete subject and a complete predicate. All right, let's go. The tall boy with red hat ran home. The tall boy with red hat ran home. Now that's a complete sentence. But let us identify the subject. The tall boy. So the subject here is the boy. And what is the predicate or the verb part of it? Ran. So this extra, so if I say the boy, you can put the boy, ran, you don't need more than that. You don't even, or you can't even say boy ran. That's a simple subject and a simple predicate. Boy. So you call that a simple subject when it's just a subject alone. You call it simple subject. When it is a predicate, is a verb alone, you call it simple predicate. But all these additional words, the boy, the tall boy with the red hat, that's just additional information. That's additional information. So we call this sentence, we would say this sentence has a complete subject, and ran home would be a complete predicate because it has the verb and it has the object there. So it's a complete. So I'm going to write some sentences on the board and you're going to tell me if the subject is simple and the predicate is simple or complete. So we're looking at three concepts here now. Let me write it on the board. All right. Simple, four concepts. Simple, subject, simple, predicate, complete, subject, complete, predicate. All right, so it's four concepts. Four concepts. Simple, subject, simple, predicate, complete subject, complete predicate. All right. John laughs at his friend. John laughs at his friend. What do we have here? We have a simple, we only have a simple subject. But over here, laugh at his friend, additional information, we have a complete predicate. We have a complete predicate. We have a complete predicate there. So this sentence has a simple subject and a complete predicate. So the sentences can have complete subjects and predicate or simple. Let's go again. So it's four concepts we're looking at. The brave man, the brave man the brave man the brave man the brave man let me write something. Killed the crocodile. Or the brave man killed the crocodile. Now you notice that this one, the brave man, it has not, the man is the subject, but it has some other words. So the brave man. So this is a complete subject because it has on the other. Complete. Kill the crocodile, and this is also a complete predicate. So it's complete. So let me write one now that has just a simple predicate. The energetic farmer All right. Sorry about that. The energetic farmer plows. The energetic farmer plows. Now all of this is a complete subject. But over here, plows, this would be a simple predicate. So let's go it again. A sentence has two main parts, the subject and the predicate, which contain the verb. Now I'm saying that there are simple subject, which is just the subject alone. And the simple predicate is just a verb alone. But when you can say you have a complete subject, it means the subject, the girl, and all the other words that surround the subject. And you can have a complete predicate, the verb, and all the other words that surround the predicate. Alright? All the other words that surround the verb. Let's go it again. A sentence has two main parts, the subject and the predicate. The subject answers the question who or what the subject is about, what it is about, who is it about. And as I said, most cases it's the noun or pronoun is the subject. Now I said you can have a simple subject, which is just one word alone, the subject, Mary. Mary is my friend. Mary, just one subject, that one simple subject, you call that. But you can have Mary, my neighbor, is my best friend. So when you put on is my neighbor, Mary, who is my neighbor, is my best friend. Anything that surrounds the subject, any other additional word, makes it a complete subject. Tom and John are swimming. Right? So that is just a simple sentence, simple predicate. Or Tom and John laughing. Tom and John, they are laughing, or Tom and John laughing. You don't even have to have the R, because it's understood. So when it's just a verb alone, Mary dances. When it is just the verb alone, we call it a simple predicate. But if we say Mary dances gracefully or beautifully, then that would be a complete predicate. So the subject alone, when it's a subject, simple subject, is just one. When it is simple predicate, it's just the verb. When it is complete subject, it is all the words. And when it's a complete predicate, it's all the words. All right, good. Now we're going to move on about the sentence. We're going to look a little more about identifying the parts of a sentence. Okay. Now, most sentences, we say they have three little parts. We talk about those two main parts, the subject, but we are talking about three little parts that is subject. They, children played outside. The children played outside. Subject, children, one children, or, okay, we can put the children. Children, that's the subject, the verb, played, and what would be the predicate? If we want, we can say it can include the verb as well, played outside. Or it could be just outside alone. So the subject, the verb, the predicate. Remember the predicate the predicate contain the verb. All right. Now let's look on another sentence. Now this time we're not going to be looking at the subject and verb. I'm sure you have heard about the object. Object in a sentence. So a sentence also have three other little parts that we're going to look at. Mary reads books. Mary reads book. Now I don't want to hear now about the subject, the verb, and the predicate. I want to hear about another word called the object. The object is the other part that is contained also in the predicate. So subject, Mary, verb, reads, object, books. Mary reads books. One Mary, so remember I told you that when the S is on the verb, it means one. When there is no S on the verb, it means more than one. So the object here, you can see the object. So we're identifying these sentences, the object. The boy kicked the ball. And the object here, you can see with your eyes. The object, ball, books, all of those. So let us identify the subject, the boy. Let us identify the verb, kicked. And let us identify the object, ball. So we move away from subject and predicates. And we are looking at three other little parts. The same subject, the same verb, we're looking at verb, but we are saying a part of the predicate, you have the object too. Object that you can see with your eyes. You have, sometimes you cannot see the object, but in these cases, you are seeing the object. You can see them with your eyes. They are nouns. All right, so I'm moving right along. One more sentence, and we're going to identify the three other little parts of the sentence. Three other little parts of a sentence. They are the subject, the verb, and the object. Right? And the verb and the object, you'll find them in the predicate. So we are looking at three other little parts. One more sentence, and then I'm gonna move a little more, and I'm gonna tell you what. All right. The chef cooked dinner. The chef cooked dinner. So we're still looking at the predicate here, but within the predicate, we have another little area, the object. We have another little area that we're looking at within the predicate. So you have the verb and the object within the predicate. So the chef, so subject, the chef, verb, cooked, and object is dinner. Now I'm going to take you back to your writing. Most of us, most of you, when we are writing, we tend to use subject, verb, object. The farmer, whether it's present tense or past tense, the farmer is going to the market. John and Mary were playing in the park. Subject, verb, and object. Father is working in his garden. That sentence again, father, subject, is working, verb, in his garden, that's object. The climbers, the climbers were stranded on the mountaintop. And you notice again, we use subject, verb, object. So most of our sentences that we write or we make, we tend to use subject, verb, object. And you think about it. Think about it. Most of the times you're writing, you are prone to write a sentence starting with a subject, with a verb, next a verb, and an object. Think about it. Yes, ma'am. You do that. Most, even when I give you example, I tend to do that too at this level. But when we get further on, I'll tell you that our sentences don't have to be subject, verb, object. What do you think would happen if we are writing an article or you're writing a story and all your sentences, you have subject, verb, object? They will become monotonous. They will become boring. The writer, there will be no excitement, nothing of interest in your story. It would make them boring. It would make a story flat, right? Boring. So what we're going to do now, the last section we're going to do, we're going to see how we can make some simple sentences and start them in a different way or in different ways, so that we don't have to use subject, verb, and object. Mark, you will have to have some of that, because that is how we are prone to write in English language. Prone to write in English language. But as I said, if you write a paragraph, you should have, and the paragraph has, say, 10 sentences. You should turn them around. You could expand them. You could add a verb, you could add an adjective. You could have an adverb. You could do so many things with them. Different types of sentences. It could be a compound sentence. It could be a complex sentence. It could start different ways. So I am introducing to you now some little ways that we can use to improve our writing, our sentences. All right. So we don't have to write every sentence using the subject, verb, object method. All right. So we are looking at sentence variation. Sentence variations. How we can vary our sentences to make them more interesting so that readers would want to read our writing. Because the more words we use, the diction that we use, the sentence structures that we use, those are the things that appeal to the writer. Those are some of the things that will appeal to the writer, to the reader rather. All right. Sentence variation. So we're going to look at some simple little sentences where we're going to change them, see how we can change them. All right. 1. I went to the shop. I went to the shop. I went to the shop. So again, subject, verb, object. But I say I don't want my sentence always to be subject, verb, and object. So I am looking at a way I could change my sentence to make it, to improve it and to give a variety if I'm writing. So maybe I could say, I went to the shop. I could say, yesterday, comma, I went to the shop. More specific. So we're going to look at how we can improve our sentences now. So I'm going to clean that and we're going to look at ways that we can improve our sentences, and we don't have to write our sentences in subject, verb, object order. Put away that. All right? So we're going to become better writers. Better writers, and I'm going to write some ways that we can all right, so some ways that we can improve our writing. We can use, all right, so we've got ways to improve our sentences, or ways to vary. If you want to write ways to vary, ways to vary, V-A-R-Y, our sentences. And I'm going to give us a list of ways we can improve. We can add time. We can add time to the sentence to improve it so that we don't have to be starting with the subject. We can add, and this is adverb of time. Adverb of time. We can add to. We can add adverb again of place. Adverb of place. We can add adverb of manner, slowly, suddenly. Adverb of manner. Right, adverb of manner, right, we can leave that there. All right, slowly, suddenly, immediately, all those ly words, we can use them to begin. All right, we can start with a prepositional phrase. Start with a prepositional phrase. And remember, prepositions are those small words in, under, over, beside, against. All those words are preposition. Prepositional phrase, up in the sky, inside the box, underneath the table, over the counter. All those are prepositional phrases we can use. We can begin with a subordinate. We can begin with a subordinate. We can begin with a subordinate clause. Like, although, start with a although, but I don't want to encourage people to use it, because although, when, whenever, those words, whenever, because, although, if, so, Well, I don't want you to use so neither begin the sentence unless it's in the middle. But whenever, when, since, and those words. We can also begin using past participles or participle phrases. And we're going to get to that now. Use participle phrase or phrases. And those are the words that ends with ing or ed. All right. We can start with an object too. All right, see? Start with an object. So start with the object instead of starting with the subject. So we can start with an object. All right. So we are going to look at some words that we can use. Now, if I say, so these are, let me see if I can clean up here. And we're going to write. So sentence variation, ways to improve our sentences, ways to vary our sentences. Just some quick, easy ways we can improve our writing. You can add time, you can add place, adverb of place, you can add adverb of manner, ly words, you can start with a prepositional phrase, you can begin with a subordinate clause, you can use past participle phrases, and you can start with the object. So you can turn it around. Instead of start with the subject, you can start with the object. Let's go. All right. I went to the park. I went to the park. Now we could use time for that one. What else could we use for it? Time. We could use adverb of time. We could probably start with a prepositional phrase. We could use a subordinate clause. All right. Let's use time. Time has to do with like after dinner, I went to the park. This morning, I went to the park. During the afternoon, I went to the park. Late last night, I went to the park. Yesterday, I went to the park. Anything to do with time. During the morning, at dawn, I went. Would you be going to the park? In the evening, I went to the park. All right, so time has to do with whether it was yesterday, last night, during the break yesterday, I went to the park. During the afternoon, I went to the park. So that has to do with time. Can we get anything else out of that? All right, so time, I went to the park. Could we use anyone else? Starting with a prepositional phrase. All right, could we start with a prepositional phrase? And that would be, again, it could be in the morning, or we could use the subordinate clause. After dinner, I went to the park. Right? Laughing, or okay, let me not put that one. Maybe it might have to change. But you could probably use so after dinner, I went to the park. Immediately, could use immediately. Could use a slow a adverb of manner. Immediately, I went to the park. So we could use an adverb of manner for that one. So time, adverb of time, adverb of manner. We could use also the the subordinate clause. Let me put another one. All right. Now, where? Place, where? Listen to this one. The children ran happily. How could I change that in a where? The children ran happily. Happily. The children ran happily. How could I improve that sentence in a where? I could where is a place? In the garden, in the market, at the studio, at the house, where? Beside the dining table, where? Inside the room, where? At the bus stop, where? Beside the bed, where? On the playground, where? Beside the tree, under the tree, those are places where. So if I say the children ran happily, how could I remove the subject and the verb object arrangement? Pattern, that pattern. The pattern, subject, verb, object. How could I do that? We could do a place one here. At the market, the children ran happily. At the market, so that one is a place. At the market, the children ran happily. I could also say, over the hill, the children ran happily. Over the hill, and that would be a prepositional phrase. At the market, over the hill, in the garden. Okay, look at this one. The cat slept peacefully. How could I get rid of the pattern? Subject, verb, object. That's a pattern. Subject, verb, object. That's a pattern of how we write in many cases or many times. Subject, verb, and object. How could I get rid of that one? The cat slept peacefully. What could I do for that one? I could probably use a prepositional phrase. In the garden, the cat slept peacefully. On the couch, beside the table, under the table, the cat slept peacefully. So we are expanding our sentences. We are making our sentences become more vivid, clearer, and giving more information. All right. We had our picnic. How could we improve that one? We had our picnic. What could we put in front? And we had our PICNIC picnic. We could use a time one. Last week we had our picnic. Last week we had our picnic. We could also have by the river. We had our picnic. During the summer we had our picnic. Under the tree we had our picnic. And so we are taking in the prepositional phrases under, over, beside. Right? Okay. The dog, the dog dashed across the street. And here we still have the pattern. Subject, verb, object. How could we change that? Suddenly. And that would be a verb, an adverb of manner. Suddenly, the dog dashed across the street. So we are, the emphasis at the beginning. We'll change, as we go along, we'll change the ending. All right? Another sentence, the student ran outside. The student ran outside. How could we improve that? The student ran outside. And remember to put the comma. The students ran outside. When the bell rang, comma, make sure that you put the comma. When the bell rang, the students ran outside. So you're giving some more information. Suddenly, anytime you have suddenly, the dog dashed across the street, always put the comma. All of these need a comma. Remember to put the comma. Sometimes we forget that, but we have to put the comma. So we can start with when the bell rang, the student ran outside. Suddenly, the dog dashed across the street. He was tired. Okay. Let's see if we can put on something more away from one word. All right. He was tired. All right. Same pattern, subject, verb, object. How can we change that one? What can we add to that? We can add to the beginning and we can add to the end. We can say that although he was tired, comma, he did his homework. So we are expanding at the beginning, and at the beginning we expand, and at the end. So we can make longer sentences by just using these simple techniques. All right? Participle phrase, ing words. And ing words, they make our writing much better. Hanging on the wall, it's a beautiful painting. Exhausted, he threw himself on the settee and fell asleep. So those words, you don't have to be always using the subject, verb, object. All right? Smiling brightly. She greeted her classmate, or he greeted his classmate. So these ing words, smiling, dancing, exhausted, ing, these are ing and ed, past participle. Any other? Fancy if I see any more here. Let us try to make some other sentences. Let me write some. Running. These are good words to make sentences. Shivering. Singing. These past participles, these can help us to write better sentences, and we don't have to follow that pattern. Tired, so we're going to try a few of them and close off. Tired, worried, these words, worried, overwhelmed, I'm dancing already, all right? Okay. So, these words will prevent us from using the pattern. Subject, verb, object. So let us see if we can make some sentences with those now. Using ing words and ed words, past participle, we can prevent or we can minimize the use of the pattern. Subject, verb, object arrangement. Let's see if we can make some sentence. Smiling. How could we make a sentence with the word smiling? This is what I have here. Or I don't even have to look at. Smiling. Smiling, comma, she greeted her friends. Smiling, she greeted her friends. Dancing, how could we make a sentence with dancing? Dancing, dancing, gracefully, she won many admirers. Good. Exhausted, 3. They fell asleep in the settee. All right. Worried. Worried. Let me see if I have any here. All right. Worried about his assignment. Worried about his assignment. Okay. He set out to. Worried about his assignment, he set out to do it, or he set out to do his research. All right, running along the pavement. He heard He heard his friends cheering him on. Running along the pavement or running along the track, he heard his friends cheering him or cheering him on. Or yes, he was cheered by his friend. Running along on the track, he was cheered by his friend. Shivering, comma, shivering, Milton grabbed his sweater from his closet. Shivering from the cold, Milton grabbed his sweater. Overwhelmed by the work, schoolwork, housework, he felt what? He felt exhausted, overwhelmed by the housework. She began to cry. Overwhelmed. Singing and dancing. Singing and listening to music. Singing made Mary happy. Tired, exhausted, tired. She fell asleep too. Tired. She nearly tired. She almost lost control of the vehicle, or tired. She fell asleep, so and so, on the couch. So we're saying here that when you use these words, ing word or e word, past participle, you can change the pattern of the sentence. You can change the pattern of the sentence. So what I want you to do for part of your homework is to notice how you write, and see if you can practice to change the pattern of your sentences. Instead of writing subject, verb, object, try to change those. All right? I ate an apple. After lunch, I ate an apple. Where you ate the apple? In the canteen, I ate an apple. So it can be where, it can be the place. The dog chased the cat. Where again? Through the garden. The dog chased the cat. He kicked the ball. You could start it with a with. It's a preposition. With all his strength, he kicked the ball. We watched a movie. And it could read, last night we watched a movie. They painted the fence. On Saturday morning, they painted the fence. The teacher gave homework. Before the class ended, the teacher gave homework. My brother broke the vase by accident. My brother broke the vase. The baby hugged her teddy bear. With a big smile, the baby hugged her teddy bear. She cooked dinner. In the kitchen, she cooked dinner. Now, let's quickly run through what we have been saying. We have been looking at sentences. Sentences, words make up sentences. Sentences make up paragraph, paragraph make up stories. So it's important that our sentence structures are good. We looked at the different parts of the main parts of the sentence. We look at sentences that a sentence can be one word, two word, but it must have a subject and it must have a subject and a verb. Run, jump, it is implied that it is you. So even when you see run with the exclamation or jump or help, it is a sentence. The exclamation, stop, it means you help, you run, you. So it's implied. So we are saying sentences can be long, sentences can be short, but they must have the subject and the verb. The subject is inside of the predicate. However, in some cases, you don't have a long predicate, you just have the verb operating as the predicate. We looked again at simple subject, one word, just one word is the subject. And the subject is more often a pronoun or a noun. One. So we have the simple subject and we have the complete subject, which is the subject itself plus all the other words surrounding it, right? That gives more information. Then you can have the simple predicate, which is just the verb. And you have the complete predicate, which is the verb plus the others. Father is working in the garden. Father is working in the garden. Is working in the garden. All of that's the predicate. So we also looked at that within that sentence, apart from the subject and the predicate, you have within the predicate, you have the verb and you often have the object. We went on to say most of the sentences that we write and we see sometimes in the books, they are written in one pattern. And the pattern is subject, verb, object. But we can do many things, some simple things to change that pattern. We can change a pattern to starting with adverbs, starting with prepositional phrase, starting with past participle. We can start with adjective and other things as we go along. You will learn. So your homework is to see how many ways you can vary your sentences. How many ways you can vary your sentences. Practice to write at least 20 sentences and see how best you can vary them. Vary the beginning, vary the ending. Turn the object, start with the object. Instead of, I see a beautiful rainbow, a shining rainbow, peep through the clouds, turn around your sentences. Remember, a sentence can be written in many ways. You can say the same thing in many ways. And sentences, you can have all sorts of variation. All right, so practice your writing. Next week, we will continue with the writing. We are going to go on to we are continuing with sentences, and we're going to be looking at different types of sentences. We can look at simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences. We're going to look at some again, sentence variation. I have I've written a booklet on sentences, over 50 ways of varying your sentences. I hope at some point we'll share that. I'll share some of them. Over 50 ways to or more than 50 ways, or 50 plus ways. Or the booklet is 50 plus ways to vary your sentences. And some very interesting ways so that your writing can be better. Again, I thank you for staying on the channel. Staying on the platform. And let me remind us, please subscribe. And in the description, the book is there, the Right Workbook, Building Creativity and Imagination. As we go along, I'm going to be using this book. For the sentence variation. So as of next week, I'll be using sentences from this book. How we can make our sentences better, how we can make our writing better. Again, subscribe to the channel. Teacher Lawrence, Writing for Everyone. It's all about you. I want you to be a better writer. If you're going to be a better writer, then we have to lay the foundation for the better sentences, being able to construct better sentences. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Continue to subscribe, tell your friends, and this writing is for everyone. It's not about me. I enjoy doing it. It's all about you. Have a good evening.